Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today's focus, we're going to talk about doubling your success and the principles to build a multi-million-dollar practice and business. And we've got our guest host here, Dr. Sterling Carter. He is the founder and CEO of Sterling Physical Therapy and lots of other businesses too. He is actually an Army veteran and a successful entrepreneur and business owner. I believe in 2008, he opened his private practice clinic, Sterling Physical Therapy and Wellness. And then in 2011, launched another business, which is Sterling Staffing Solutions, with his brother to help employers find top talent. And he's also launched a variety of other businesses, such as Transportation Services Company. And with his Sterling Physical Therapy, he's grown to over 3 locations. So in 2018, Dr. Carter here brought all of his experiences together and wrote a published book called Double Your Success: Principles to Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Business. And today he's going to share some of those winning tips with us on how to build a successful business. So, Sterling, great to have you here. Thanks for being on the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Neil, and thank you for that amazing opening and introduction. Uh, love it.
We're
Love
amazing
it.
individual. There you go.
Like, is
So we
that
got
right?
lots to
Yeah,
share here, lots to
right.
unpack, and thanks for taking the time to share with our audience here what you find to have worked in business and some of those core principles there. So,
Sure.
you started a lot of businesses. Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. No, I have not always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but when I started working, I started practicing as a physical therapist. I think I graduated in '97, so it's been a while. But what I realized after a period of time, I was working at a hospital and I'd been there for 10 years, and I kind of moved up the food chain. I was in a kind of a director position for the outpatient clinic, but I hit a glass ceiling. And I realized that there was not very, there wasn't anywhere for me to go. And I also felt like God really had something bigger for me, right? That what I wanted, what I needed to give to the world was more than just in these four walls. And so I decided to kind of step out on faith and start up my first outpatient physical therapy practice. And that was back in 2008, as you mentioned. And then what happened after that is you just start seeing, as you grow and you build and you understand how synergies work, you see opportunities. And so, that opening up the physical therapy practice led to us opening up a healthcare staffing company, specifically a therapy staffing company, where we staff physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, social workers, and this has gone on and on from that point. But it started with physical therapy based on a niche. And so, and things have just kind of naturally just grown in that way. And so I think that if you're doing something you're passionate about and you're in the right place, then those opportunities present themselves because it's just meant for that to happen. So it wasn't an aspiration, but it was the right place in the right time for me.
That's excellent. Yeah, and I think we both had some interesting entrepreneur journeys. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur when I
Right.
was, growing up and out of PT school. I just wanted to, get good at being a PT. But,
Yeah,
I think one thing that you just learn along the way too, and I continue to learn, is that you keep leveling yourself up,
that's
right?
right.
And you learn, you're constantly learning, and I did have a realization in my practice was that I didn't get the business training that I needed in school, and that's not
So
what I
true.
would expect them to do anyway, right? They're
Yeah.
they're prepping me to be a physical therapist.
Mhm.
So if I wanted to go into running my own practice, like I needed to get better at the complexities of business and understanding the principles of business. And
Yeah.
so that's been kind of my journey since, gosh, maybe 2004, 2005, is getting better and better at business. And I'm still learning, still so much to learn.
Well, I mean, to your point, to run a physical therapy practice, it's more than just being a physical therapist, right? You have to have the business prowess. You have to know the ins and outs of how to market this business. How do I make it, set up my processes so they're scalable and repeatable? How can I brand myself in the right way? How can I keep my expenses down so my profit margins stay up? And so those are things, to your point, we didn't learn in school. So yeah, it's a lifelong journey of learning and trying to better ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. The when I come across practice owners that tend to struggle, um, and they tend to want to just do what they do and know best, which is to go into, back to patient care when
Right.
they have all those other things that need their attention within the business, right, in the practice.
Mhm.
So I always say, you got to start, carving out some time for yourself to be the CEO of your practice, right? You
That's
have
it.
to
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to have the time to work on that. You can't do patient care all the time and expect the business to
exactly.
grow on its
You know,
own.
they say it all the time. You have to start working on your business and not working in your business. If you want it to grow, that's what you have to do. And I see so many, to your point, I see so many PTs that are practicing in their clinic and they don't understand why it's not growing because you're stunning the growth of your practice because it's only going to go as far as as many patients as you can see is about the max that it's going to grow unless you start working on building something that can be repeatable and scalable.
Absolutely. And so in your experiences, you've met with different practice owners and business owners out there. Why do businesses fail? Right? I mean, there's some crazy statistics out there of how many businesses fail within the first 5 years or something like that,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
why do you see businesses fail?
yeah, 80% of businesses typically fail within 3 to 5 years.
Jeez, that's
And
crazy.
yeah, and one of the biggest reasons is what we talked about is that they'll do well until a point where when they realize that it's the business cannot sustain without them doing more than what they're able to physically do. And a lot of times what happens is they get burnt out. They don't get the proper training so they can learn how to start moving out of working as the technician in the business and start working as the actual business operator, CEO of the business, changing the mindset. Mindset is everything. And so, if you go into starting a business and you just want to be a physical therapist, then you shouldn't have started a business because when you're starting a business, regardless of what that business is, you have to become a business owner and work and build the business. And when you look at the other thing that I think is so crucial as processes. When you look at businesses that have done really, really well, they have structured processes. They have written out what works, what doesn't work, and they try to make sure that they stay in line with those processes. And so, if you're just flying by the seat of your pants and you're 3 to 5 years into your business, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
we all know that there at the beginning there's always blood and sweat equity. We have to put it in,
yes,
right? But you can't sustain that
no,
forever.
it's not sustainable.
Yeah, and yeah, and I love what you said there though about the kind of the operations and you have to have processes developed and keep
That's
moving. I mean,
right.
if we think about McDonald's is one of the largest burger chains in the world, right? They don't make really very good burgers, but like it's everything is completely processed out, right? And so
Yeah,
it's you can repeat it over and over and over and again. And not that you want to have um, terrible PT service, right?
right.
But or just like plain, you want to kind of have your flavor of how you do it, but you have to have, a document like how can you train people easily to come in and help you grow that business.
Yeah, I mean, and 100%. So McDonald's is one side of the spectrum, but look at Chick-fil-A.
Mhm.
Chick-fil-A has mastered it, right? So they decided we're going to work on our niche, right? What are we going to do? We're just going to do chicken, and we're going to do the best possible chicken that we can, and we're going to provide excellent customer service. And we're going to set up processes. If you notice with Chick-fil-A, most of the folks that work there are young kids, right? Young high school to college, but they've learned how to greet everyone with a smile, produce the same product each and every time. They focus on customer service. Those things are innately in them. They've been trained on that based on the processes. And so you can repeatably produce a great product and you can still have some creativity around it. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have those processes, it's just not going to work. Not long term.
Excellent example. Yeah. Excellent example on that. And I
Uh-huh.
think too, like one thing that because my daughter's a senior in high school now, right?
Uh-huh.
And she was going through like getting her first job. And so that was a consideration as Chick-fil-A. And I think
Yeah,
what you do is be and you can think about this as your practice, right? If you work on the processes, if you work on the quality of what's delivered and the patient experience within the practice, you can and you can promote that well, you can attract the people that you want to work with, right?
you sure
And the
can.
better that becomes, the better quality of staff you're going to attract to come help you build that business.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah. So you mentioned this too, and you specify this about the niche, right? And so how important is it to find a niche and how does that relate to, being in a PT practice?
Well, I can't remember who first stated this, but riches are in the niches, right? And so you can't be in physical therapy as well. You can be the master of one thing or two things, but you can't be the master of everything. And so, um, and also the market is looking for specialists, right? So you can say that, oh, I'm a physical therapist and I do physical therapy. But if I have a shoulder injury, I want to go to who's the best with doing shoulder rehab because I want the very best. And so it's really, really important for you to look at your market area and determine what is the needs. And so what we talk about in the book is that going out and just basically asking questions, talking to your patients, talking to other PTs that have PT practices, and finding out. What are your patients asking for? What do you wish you had that you don't? And then what you start seeing is there's a pattern of, oh, okay, well, there's an opportunity in my area to focus on vestibular issues and balance issues. And then you start marketing that. And even if here's the secret, right? Even if you're not an expert in that area right now, if that's something that you can be passionate about and you can learn it in a very short period of time, you will become the expert and you will be that go-to person. So I think it's absolutely important.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I totally agree on that too. And it can be very tempting to think that you have to service everybody,
right.
right? And you can come from the position of like, I need to fill the clinic. I'll take anybody that comes in that has a pulse,
Uh-huh.
right? But like you said, you have to think about the future and how you can get more specific. And I think one caveat to think about is you have to niche down in a category that's going to be big enough, right? So if
True.
you
Yes.
just have something that's a very specific diagnosis, but there's really not, it's not that common in the population, it's going to be
Exactly.
hard to build your practice. But let's face it, most people have back and neck problems. You want to be a spine specialist, right? To
Right.
really, if you want to grow volume wise. But for a lot of clinics, it could be, hey, we love to be sports performance, or we love to, if they want to be neurological, or if they want to be
Right.
pediatric,
Pelvic
or whatever
health,
that. Yeah,
pediatrics.
exactly. Yeah.
Right. All of those areas are just great areas to really focus on. And you're absolutely right, Neil. You have to know, what your market is available, or what they have. Is it more young people? Is it more geriatrics? Do we have more females, more males? Is it a more labor, industrial type area, or is it more corporate, white collar type stuff? And so all those things play into it. What's the income levels? Because if you're wanting to do a cash practice or an insurance-based practice, you better do it in the right place because if not, you're in trouble. So you have to know the area and open up in the right area.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and so, certainly there's a lot of listeners here probably that have already started a clinic,
mhm.
but maybe it hasn't lived up to their expectations. Maybe it just hasn't gotten that, they kind of gotten to a certain point and it feels like it's just flat, right? It's not growing where they want it to be. So, and maybe they're struggling to get to that $1 million mark. So how can that practice owner really go beyond that and get over that hump?
Yeah, so the most important thing is trying to figure out if you really want to grow and scale, you have to build a business that is not that's not based on you. Like if you're the person that has to be there every day to manage and do everything, the business can't grow. So it's a matter of delegation. It's a matter of delineation of duties. We're really big on that, making sure that you have someone to do every part of your business. And then what we have to do as CEOs and owners is understand that one of our most important roles is business development. Business development, networking, and I'm not saying marketing that's different, but business development is developing relationships, establishing yourself as the expert in the industry, doing talks, going out and talking to doctors, giving free workshops. Those are the kind of things that really start increasing your value and your and the community kind of knowing who you are. So I think that's just key.
Absolutely. And I remember I learned this a while back and it really kind of stuck with me. And that's, businesses, there's a natural evolution, there's a natural phases of business, right?
Right.
And there's this, I think it's like a $250,000 mark, and then there's
Mhm.
$1 million mark, and then there's a 3 million, and then there's like, I think not 7 or 9 million, and then
Uh-huh.
beyond that, right? And so there's like certain things that need to happen to get to that next phase. And I think a lot of practices, they get busy, they have a couple practitioners in there, and then they're kind of butting up against that $1 million mark. But there's still heavy, like you said, it's very heavily reliant on the practice owner making the thing go. And
Exactly.
in order to go beyond that $1 million mark and start to get further up, you need to start to get, specialized people and directors or managers, think people that can make things happen for you. You're still very much involved, but
Right.
it's not all about you, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
And then I
exactly.
think as you get to the $3 million mark and $5 million mark to get over that hump, it really becomes then about your management team, like your executive team that you have to start to
Exactly,
build, right?
exactly. And the other part too that everyone probably needs to understand is that as a in our profession, physical therapy practice, making more than $1 million is probably pretty hard for it being just one clinic. So you have to understand too that if you want to double, you really have to scale. And so once you have all those processes in place and you have the right people and you have everything delegated, then you can start working on growing and replicating what you did in that first clinic and do it in a second clinic and a third clinic, and looking for those areas that have the same type of demographics or the same type of market that worked well. So replicate that in other areas.
That's interesting. So, what would you say then is sort of the, obviously there's variations within this, but sort of like what's that ballpark, right? For like a single location practice that's running pretty efficiently.
It depends on the size, of course, and the you know the so it depends on the size and productivity of your therapist. There's so many different factors there, but I would say that if you have a 2,500 square foot practice, you should be pulling in around $1 million.
Okay.
That should be the goal there. And I think if you start trying to go any higher than that, you're going to start suffering quality. Your patients are going to start feeling a little bit congested in the
Mhm.
area. But if you do it correctly, you extend your hours, you open up on Saturdays, that kind of thing. You can definitely with 2,500 square feet, you can get to that number. And then, as far as the number of therapists, it just depends on your productivity requirements. I am I'm probably because I'm prior military and I was a physical therapist in the Army, and we I think provide better care, physical therapy care than probably anywhere in the private sector. Maybe a little bit biased, but I think that we do. And
Mhm.
it's a whole completely different process on how we treat and we see a lot of patients, and we provide great quality care. We do a lot of manual therapy. And so, but it's, in outpatient physical therapy, it's unfortunately it's an area where reimbursement rates are going down and not going up.
Mhm.
And we've got to be able to figure out how to do more with less. And so, that's just the reality of it. So how can you set up so then again, those processes, how can I set up a system where I can maximize on the number of patients that I can see and still provide that excellent level of quality care,
Mhm.
and so that I can stay in business, because that's the reality. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I can relate. I actually had the privilege of interning as a physical therapist in the Navy at the Naval
yes.
Hospital in Groton, Connecticut.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was such a different experience, right? The patients would come see you first, and
Yes.
you could diagnose them if I needed an X-ray or even an MRI. Like you could
Uh-huh.
send them off first, and then it's like, oh, there's something here that I think I can't treat. Let me send you to the orthopedic, right?
Right.
So
That's right.
I think it's such a smart way of doing it. In the civilian world, it's flip-flop, right? Where they go to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
physician first and then they come to PT, which is a lot more costly. But
Yeah, but it,
um,
it makes your critical thinking skills, it elevates them through the roof. So you think completely different. Your level of confidence, your ability to differentially diagnose, all that kind of good stuff. It's completely different. And to your point, we can order MRIs, we can order X-rays, we can order medications. Everything except for narcotics was within our wheelhouse. We made a determination on if that person needed to see a specialist or not, if they needed something else. But we, as we should be, are the musculoskeletal experts, and so they should come to us first. So it's pretty awesome.
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
So, kind of coming back to our practice owner here, right? The person that's really trying to grow their business to that next level. Like, what kind of mindset does a business owner really need to succeed, and how can you foster that?
So, you were talking about people earlier, Neil, and about how you can, depending on how you set up your practice, you can really kind of recruit or bring in the right people based on, the type of the practice that you have, and the environment, and the value proposition. So when we're talking about leaders, I think that leaders understand that, and I'm probably going to roll into a little bit of what we talk about as servant leaders. So we have a chapter in our book, that we talk about servant leadership, and this was really it's something we didn't create. It came from the military. So in the military, what those that may not know is that what we're taught in the military as leaders, and that kind of thing, because I went all the way up the ranks. But what happens is that your soldiers are, as a leader, is the most important thing is to make sure that your soldiers are taken care of. Make sure that they have, the best training, the best weapons, equipment, the best food. And one of the things that was very, very it just happened, and it is really just kind of resonated with me, is that every time we would go into the mess hall, which is like the cafeteria, you'd have 180 soldiers, and as a company commander, you would wait for every last one of your soldiers to eat before you went and grabbed something to eat. And the premise always behind that is that a leader is the last person to eat, because you take care of your people first. And I think in leadership, your people see that. If they know that you care, and they know that you're going to do anything possible in order to make sure that they're taken care of, they innately take care of you, and they do it, they do it with tirelessly and without complaints, and that is just how it's done. And so that's what we call servant leadership, and it's really really important. And it doesn't mean that you can't, you don't make hard decisions. You don't have to make those hard decisions, but people know and understand your heart, and they know why you're, what you're in it for, and they trust that you're going to make the right decision.
I love that. And it's so true, right? And I think in today's world, that's going to become even more important with our Gen Zs that are
Yeah,
coming up into the pipeline. Like that's what they want, right? They
that's
want
right.
that type of leadership where are you listening to me, my
That's
needs,
right.
right? But like you said, there's still the job to get done. There's still things that need to be done, right? But that's the way I kind of look at it too, is like, how can I help you be the most successful that you can be, right?
And you hit a good point, Neil, in regards to making sure that your team is a part of the decision-making process, right? They want to be a part of it. It's time out for you just dictating and telling everyone this is what we're going to do, and they just go out and do it. They want to understand the why. They want to have a say on what they're going to, possibly be doing. And it's a lot of times it's really really good. There is, especially as you grow and you elevate, we're not in the field anymore, we're not in the trenches, and so they know what's going on and what's really needed. So bring them in, part of the process. You trusting them again is going to create trust, uh from them to you. So
Yeah, I would say for me, like a difficult skill to learn over
uh-huh.
time has been letting go.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
And like it's just if you're an entrepreneur, it's kind of in your blood. Like you just
it
got to
is.
get in there and get it done, right? But the hard part is letting others have that opportunity and
Uh-huh.
stepping back. And yeah, they're gonna succeed, but they will also make some fumbles, right? And you got to kind of let that happen in order for them to grow. But
Well,
that for me has been one of the challenges over the years, is just to like shut my mouth and step back.
Well, like I can attest, being a member of Practice Promotions, that you have an amazing team, and we were just talking about earlier how this was the first time that I've actually had a chance to meet you, because you've done such a great job of developing leaders and managers, and they just get it done. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Uh,
Um, So I can attest to this. A lot of PT clinics are family businesses, right?
yes.
Husband, wife, siblings, whatever it may be. And yeah, I think you've worked a lot with your brother, right? And can you tell me a little bit about what's made that successful for you,
Yeah, yeah,
working with a family
yeah.
member?
Right. So I have a twin brother. His name's Stephen Carter. And back in 2011, I'd opened up my first practice and noticed that there was a need for uh, staffing, because we had all of these home health agencies that were looking for therapists. And I had therapists that were looking for jobs that I just knew. And I was just like, we could, put this all together. My brother, his background is he was a project manager and a CFO. He worked in corporate America oil and gas, had an MBA, an accounting background. So he had the business prowess, which made it even more special. And so we went into business together, opening up the staffing company. And so I had the healthcare expertise, he had the business management expertise, and it just grew phenomenally, phenomenally. We're still growing. We've been on the Inc. 500 list, or Inc. 5000 list. I'm sorry, for probably the last 5 years in a row. We just won the one of the fastest growing privately held businesses in Houston, which Houston is like the third largest city in the country. So it's pretty cool to see all those things happen. But to your point, family-owned businesses are tough. And being twins is really hard, because we grew up being really, really, really competitive, right? And
Mhm.
so I would say that the things you have to do is one, realize your strengths and weaknesses. and allow that person that's strong in those areas, let them be strong in the areas that you're strong. You just have to find your lane. And then you have to just trust the process. You have to really, really be respectful and understand that just because we're like for us, we're twins and we used to fight all the time, fight each other. That is a whole different ball game in business. We have to respect each other's opinions. We have to figure out a way to come to common ground and agree. So and it's one of those things, being having a partner in a business is almost like being married, right? It's just because you're with that person in and out every single day. You have to make these collective decisions. So you have to think about it the same way you think about marriage. It has to be a mutual, respectful environment and
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah, and I think that goes a lot for if you're not working with a spouse or a family member,
Sure.
right? Like if you're bringing on a business partner, like you got to really get to know them well, and can you go through some tough times with them, and are they going to
Exactly.
be a good person to work with? You're going to marry them, basically,
That's
right?
right. You're gonna marry. And one key point in regards to that is that if you're looking for a partner and your partner, the main thing that they have to provide is just a financial investment, that's probably not the right partner for you because they're going to put this upfront investment in, but 5 years, 10 years down the road, they're still going to own a large percentage of the business and they're not doing any work whatsoever. And that is not a good place to be in. So
Yeah,
make sure that your partner and that you guys know what your roles are going to be, not just in the beginning, but moving forward.
gotcha. Now you're in the kind of the Houston area here. Let's talk about some pitfalls here, like in the business and I think did you go through like one of the hurricanes there that hit Houston? Like
Yeah.
how did you like overcome that disaster, right? Or
So many there. It's pretty crazy. We just had Hurricane Beryl that hit in July, and the power was out for a whole week.
oh gosh.
And of course, as we know in physical therapy, if we're not treating patients, we're not bringing in revenue. So just, that's 25% of your revenue out of 4 weeks, you lose a week and it's gone. So one of the things that I always talk about is making sure that you're prepared for those disasters, right? Those natural disasters or non-natural disasters. They're going to happen, and one of the things that happened during COVID, which was really, really crazy, is that the businesses that weren't prepared, that didn't have a safety nest egg, went out of business because they couldn't sustain or they weren't resilient enough to figure out, okay, how do I pivot? How do I figure out what else I can do in order to sustain in this area? So I think disasters are going to come. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So once we establish that, then we have to establish what's our plan going to be. How are we going to plan for those rainy days, for the hurricanes, for the storms? And so that's okay. Am I putting money away for a backup plan? Do I have therapists in a pipeline? So if somebody quits on me, all of a sudden I have someone that I can bring into place. Do I have processes so that if I do have to retrain someone, I can just use those processes and not have to try to figure out what my intake person was doing when I wasn't really doing intake. So it's really, really being prepared for those and then understanding that life, I was just reading an article about how crazy things change and that how every 5 years there's things that what the way the world is now, 5 years from now, will be completely different. And that if we don't learn how to pivot and how to go with the times, we're just going to get left behind. And so that's all about that resiliency. So what happens when things start changing? You see it across the board. Kodak cameras. If you remember back in the day, everyone had a Kodak camera. It was all about, or just a camera in general. It was all about cameras. Right now, our smartphones are our cameras. People don't even really go around with actual Polaroids anymore or anything like that because it's progressed so much. We saw what happened with Blockbuster. They weren't ready and weren't resilient. Then Netflix came in, all that kind of good stuff. Cable, now cable has gone to streaming. You know, Chat GPT and OpenAI and all that is a complete game changer. There's going to be new jobs that are going to come up, and there's going to be old jobs that are going to go away. Are
Mhm.
you prepared for that? What are you doing to get ready for that? And it just goes on and on and on. I mean, in the oil and gas industry, I know that we're really, really fighting on keeping oil and gas, but it's inevitable that sooner or later we're going to switch to more of an energy, natural energy, electric type of situation. So, are you prepared for that? What are you doing? So,
Yeah, you're playing in a changing world, right? And
yes,
it's not slowing down, it's only speeding up,
that's
right?
right.
The rate of change. And so we have all these external factors too in our business, right? In our practice. But I love what you said there too, because some of it's not necessarily like a major disaster that would come
Mhm.
along, right? That might be something that happens every 5 years, right? But are you prepared for that front desk person that gives you their 2 week notice? Or
Exactly.
that physical therapist that gives you their 2 weeks notice, right? And you thought everything was fine.
Yeah,
That's a little mini disaster in the making, right? What I see is that a lot of practices do not constantly keep recruiting, right? They
that's
only
right.
recruit, um, retroactively instead of proactively, and they're behind the eight ball because
That's
you
right.
got to realize that, and especially in today's marketplace, what used to be like an 8 week cycle to put some ads out there, do some interviews, get someone in. So person gives you 2 weeks, but you takes you 8 weeks to replace that person. Now it's more like probably 16 weeks,
It didn't say.
24 weeks, right, to get that person in. So you're losing all that revenue in the meantime. But if you're very proactive, and I'm sure you're very well aware of this with staffing solutions, uh,
Uh,
but you got to keep constantly recruiting and getting have some people waiting in the wings kind of thing, right?
that's right. That's right. You do. You really do. It's staffing has even gotten crazy, right? Because it's even hard for us to find the people to staff because it's the market is completely changed. It's
Mhm.
completely changed. So I agree with you 100%, Neil. I can't remember the term that they're calling it now, but it's something like shadow job postings where now corporations and businesses are posting jobs that they don't even have yet, just so they can collect those resumes and
Yeah.
keep them for a rainy day. Because it's just a lot faster if you can just look into your pipeline. So just like we were talking about, you should constantly recruit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you work with us to get new patients through your website, SEO, Google Ads, everything like that. You'd mentioned some things as far as you do outside of just the digital marketing side of things in the community. What kind of things do you do to help get the word out and attract people to your practice?
So yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things that we've done over the years, and so many things that you can do. One of the things that we found a really big amount of success with is free workshops. So we do workshops where we provide just free content, free information to the community. We do email blasts, we'll do posts or social media posts about it on Facebook and Instagram, and then we'll just teach a class on shoulder pain or on knee pain or on back pain. And so at the end, you've got all these people that have learned some valuable information, but they've also learned the importance of physical therapy. And then you'll have some that decide that they want to go ahead and sign up for actual physical therapy. Or maybe if they don't do it then, they'll do it later, or they'll tell someone else that they know about us. So that's been really good. I think it's probably the most valuable kind of um, community development marketing that you can do because it's just you can see it happen right then and there versus we've done hosted booths at marathons and we've sponsored high school sports teams. Another good thing that in regards to sports, we've actually volunteered to be that PT on the field for football games and that kind of thing. That's a great way also to be right there and help treat that injured athlete, and then hopefully they end up in your office on Monday morning. So those are things that I definitely like. And then we talked about earlier business development. I think it's important for us to go out and just establish relationships with doctors. Unfortunately, I know in Texas we still have limited direct access. So, and even those states that do have complete direct access, depending on insurances, you still may need a referral. So it's important just to have those relationships. And so going out to get to know your doctors, explaining to them why physical therapy is important, because a lot of them just don't know. They don't know what we can do. And so talking to them about how we can help and improve their outcomes, and how we can help them look better, because when they send their patients to us, then they don't, I mean, they love us, but they appreciate their doctor for sending them to us. So it's a great synergistic relationship.
Excellent. Yeah, and there's so much to be done with that, right? And
Mhm.
again, like in your practice, are there key people that could help you or assist with that? So if you have some really, charismatic therapists, like
Right.
that could be a great person to do a lunch and learn with at a
Mhm.
doctor's that you're trying to develop a relationship with. Um, and so obviously we've worked together quite a while now, and done different digital marketing, all kinds of
Mhm.
content marketing, things like that. So how has your experience overall been with practice promotions, and how we've helped you with your business?
So I'll have to start with the story. Well, I won't go back that far. I'll just say that in the very beginning, I first started receiving my printed newsletter letters in the mail from Practice Promotions. I don't know how you guys got my information, but you had it, and it was great. And I was like, wow, these are some really amazing, beautifully made, great pictures, very quality, thick paper. It's like, this is really nice, right? And so I was getting them for, a few months, and just kind of stacking them up, because they had some great articles and great, great topics on how to get more patients in the door, and how to increase your revenue per visit, and that kind of thing. And I was working with another company that kind of did what Practice Promotions did, but not even close, right? And I knew the quality was much better, but I was still kind of on the fence, because I've been with them for a long time. Well, I finally made the plunge, and I switched over, and almost from day one, I just realized it was completely different. So number one, you have an entire team that is appointed to you, and everyone is an expert in their field. The level of communication, how things are done. I've got Melissa that does my printing, and Ala, who's my access, or my client success manager, I guess, and Justin, who does my Google and SEO, and anything. If I need anything, I can just pick up the phone or send them an email. I think, as we talked about earlier, and Neil, the people is everything. That's really, really important. But the quality, you have to have a quality product. The website that I have now is so integrative, because Practice Promotions completely redid it, where we're getting just consistent activity, and referrals coming from the website. Jobs, we were talking about posting jobs, our job board. We get activity on our job board all the time. um the way that everything is made, so that it really, really highlights what's important, is just key. And so we went ahead, and I went ahead and signed up for the big program. I think it's the, was it plus or premium, or
Yeah, the ultimate.
ultimate? And so with that, you have the whole team. We do print newsletters. It's been huge, because we've reactivated so many of our past patients. But just having a system. We were talking about earlier about how, you can be the blockbuster, the cable company, or whatever, or you could move with the times. I really see Practice Promotions as that next level of just development. I mean, if you want to take your business to the next level, we can do Google reviews through it. We can do We can do click funnels or email funnel campaigns. You have the ability to do your social media posts through practice promotions. Everything is integrating with everything. So we can, and the reporting and data is absolutely amazing. One of the things that we have an issue with in physical therapy is not being able to really know where our patients are coming from. How do we really track that? And the old school way of just kind of asking your patients, how do you hear about us? It sometimes doesn't work because sometimes they've heard about us from so many different ways. Well, the reporting and practice promotions and the way that you guys do the tracking, I can really clearly see where these patients came from and what's working and what's not working. And that's everything. Because if you can track it, then you can improve upon it. So I could go on, but
Well,
Bruce.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that feedback. And yeah, it's an honor working with you and seeing your practice grow. And like you said, yeah, you gotta really take your system to that next level, right? And marketing is such a key component of your business, right? It's really the lifeblood. It's how you get business and people to treat in the door. So it has to do its job, right? It has to be very integrated.
Yeah,
And we work very hard. Our team works very hard on bringing that in the quality and really niching down in what we do, which is help physical therapy clinics really
yeah.
grow.
Uh,
So for you give us so much insight here today. I really appreciate you sharing what your knowledge and everything that you have there. And so if you had to give advice to a practice owner today, like one simple step that they could start working on today to make their business more successful, what would you say?
so, as I think about that question, I think the best thing that someone can do is ask themselves that question every single day and make sure you're working on that one most important thing in your practice that is going to make your life easier, that's going to propel your business even further, because we're all doers, right? And we always like to go down and check off all the things that we've done on our to-do list. But what happens is that it's easy for us to ignore that one elephant in the room that it's maybe a little bit more difficult to do, but it gives you more bang for the buck. So do that one thing. The first when you wake up and you have the most energy and all that kind of good stuff, the first hour of the day, work on that one thing that's going to make your life and your practice much easier and much more successful, and just start there and every day for that hour, and you'll see it compound over time. So
Mhm.
that's what I would recommend.
Great advice. Great advice. And so now you have the book, Double Your Success Principles to Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Business. What's the best way for people to get that? Can they get it on Amazon or?
Yeah, they can get it on Amazon. It's really the best way is go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Noble as well.
Awesome.
All online, all of the bookstores have it, but
Yeah.
Amazon is our kind of our go-to place.
Excellent. Yeah, so everybody out there, check out Amazon there, How to Double Your Success and Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Business by Dr. Sterling Carter. And I think they could also follow you, right, on Instagram at is it the Twin Carters?
Twin
Is that your
Carters,
handle?
yes. Yeah. Or you can go to our website, carterahealth.com. That's a great way to find out all the stuff that we do. It's right there.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to share that with everybody out there as we send these out. And don't forget to follow us also on Practice Promotions and the marketing podcast. Make sure you subscribe, and we've got tons of advice there. So follow our social channels and our YouTube channels. And Sterling, thank you so much for being on the call with us here today and sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Great. And so to our listeners out there, thank you. And I'm wishing you much success in your business.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to get your free practice marketing sample kit at practicepromotions.net/kit. Start 2024 off the right way by building marketing systems that automatically attract new patients from online. That's practicepromotions.net/kit.